airports, George Bush Intercontinental, as well as Houston Hobby, have been closed. So you probably have people stranded there at the airports there in town. Do you have any idea in terms of accommodations for those folks who cannot get out of the area right away? What's being provided for them stuck at the airport?
It's been wonderful.
Runways at Hobby, at least one of the runways completely underwater. It looked like a lake. I've never seen anything like it. Just showed it to my daughters, who couldn't believe what they were looking at. And it's not clear how long the airports will remain shut down. Certainly, as long as we've got catastrophic flooding. For people who are displaced, and those numbers are only growing. There is shelter at the George R. Brown Convention Center downtown that the city has stood up. The Red Cross is standing up shelters. And a great many people are also just staying with friends. One of the things we see often is friends and families and neighbors taking each other in. I mean, I'll say Heidi and I have been texted by a number of friends of ours just saying, okay, our house is dry. Are you guys okay? And I think you see that a lot, just Texans trying to help each other out. And that's really manifesting in these high water rescues where you've got individuals who have flat bottom boats that are being asked, come help volunteer. One very important message, if you're in a home right now and the water is rising, a caution, do not go up into your attic without an axe or other equipment to get through the roof. One of the most dangerous circumstances you can find yourself in is to be in the attic with water rising and trapped and no way out. So if you're faced with that, stay if you can indoors, or the roof is safer than the attic if you don't have an axe or a way to break through the roof.
Yeah, and Senator Cruz, you mentioned, of course, the spirit of Texas is definitely on full display there. I want to talk to you a little bit about, I know you're dealing with what's at hand now, but of course you have to try to work in advance of this as well. Any plans from your part, from your office, in terms of the days and weeks to come to help out the folks there in Houston and southeast Texas?
Well, sure. I mean, obviously,
$50 in all, I believe now. And look at Highway 3 here. People are just getting out any way they can. Down the road there, and I'm not sure you can see it, there's a red tractor, all right? It's got a big shovel on the front. And in that shovel are safely get out. If you think you have roadways that are passable, don't try driving in the water. But if you can get to a location where maybe you can be picked up and then taken to another location, that's great. If not, the best advice is to now shelter in place. All right, you guys doing all right? Okay. Shelter in place. If you can go to a higher level, do that. If you can get to a second story, do that. And make sure you have some water and some food with you. If you can make a cell phone call and you need rescued, you can do that. Call 911. But be prepared that it may be a while before they can get to you. The police are literally looking for boats right now to rescue people. They don't have enough equipment at this point to get to everybody. And I'm not sure they have in Dickinson enough manpower to get to everybody. So basically, it's citizen rescues that are taking place right now. We've seen numerous people just throw their boats in the water and go try to find people. There's a small boat right there. Are people that have high-profile trucks. They're trying to get through this water and get to the people. See this vehicle right here stalled, this white vehicle stalled. You just can't get through this kind of water. You just cannot do it. Do not drive your vehicle through this water. I mean, I even look down here to our right. There's a pickup truck here, and there's going to come a point where he's going to be in some trouble too, because the water ends up getting a little bit deeper when you go down the road here. So I imagine there's going to be a point in time where that truck is going to stall out. So Take every precaution you can. This is a life-threatening situation. Flooding takes more lives than any other disaster in this country, and you need to take it seriously. Look at these pictures and let it be a reminder to you how important it is to, first of all, be selfish, okay? Be selfish. Think about your life. Leave all the material things behind, okay? Put something in a backpack, strap it to your back, and go, okay? Look at the flooding that you see here in Dickinson. This will play out all over the Houston metro area, and this is just a snapshot of what is happening. Dickinson isn't even the place that's received the most rain. We've had a ton, but the more rain is now to come. It's just a very sobering experience that's happening right now in the Houston, Galveston metro. Look over my shoulder down there. Here come more boats with more people on them. They need help here. If you have a boat in the Dickinson area and assist, please come in. Please use your boat for your fellow mankind here and do them a favor. Get some people out of harm's way here. A continuing coverage of Harvey and its aftermath with the rain right after this. And you are watching the Weather Channel's coverage of Harvey now becoming an epic flood disaster across the state of Texas. I'm meteorologist Mike Bettis in Dickinson, Texas. This is a south side of Houston where the town now is underwater and ongoing rescues as we speak. Whether it be by high-profile vehicle or by boat, you can see that the town is literally swamped and underwater. And joining us right now on the phone is Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, thank you so much for being with us. Obviously, you're watching this unfold as we watch it unfold. What is the state of Texas doing right now to respond?
Well, Mike, it is good to be with you. Yes, this is a horrifying natural disaster. The flooding we're seeing in Houston is unprecedented. It is devastating. It follows devastating damage we've seen up and down the Gulf Coast from Corpus Christi to Victoria to Rockport. A great many communities on the Gulf Coast are hurting, and as you know, Harvey is expected to stay here and continue to dump massive levels of rain, which is going to only exacerbate the flooding. State officials, local officials, federal officials are all concentrating primarily on rescues right now. Just in the city of Houston, there are over 2,000 high water rescues that are ongoing. There are a lot of people who are in distress that are seeing floodwaters rise. And so one of the things I've been working on for much of the day is trying to mobilize additional resources, additional boats, additional helicopters, high water trucks, so that we have the capacity to provide the help to those whose lives and families are being threatened right now.
Senator, have you been in contact with FEMA or even with the White House? What can be done? Can you get resources pulled in?
Challenges. The number one challenge that the local officials are telling me is we need additional assets for high water rescues, that we have a substantial number deployed, but the need is even greater than the capacity. I just got off the phone 20 minutes ago with Governor Abbott, who the state has deployed 60 boats to the Houston area and 20 helicopters. They've sent about 500 DPS troopers to Houston and have mobilized a total of about 3,000 National Guards. I've had conversations today with FEMA leadership about mobilizing federal assets to get additional boats on the ground or on the water, additional trucks, additional helicopters. And then we're seeing from across the country, 10 different states have already provided resources. We're really seeing an outpouring of help. But this is an active crisis situation, and the need is unfortunately only going to continue to grow because the projections are we may not even be halfway through the rainfall that is going to fall in this region.
Yeah, exactly right. And Senator, I want to ask you, and this, I know that the need is today, obviously, and the loss of life, we hope we can keep to a minimum by getting some resources here to rescue people. But then you think about people that may be out of their homes. Any discussion with the folks that you've talked to today about where are you going to put everybody? How do we house these folks that are displaced?
Absolutely, and that's one of the many challenges that we're facing. The mayor's opened up the George R. Brown Convention Center in downtown Houston as an emergency relief center. The Red Cross is standing up facilities and providing. I've been talking with the leadership of the Red Cross to provide housing and homes. And one of the things that always happens in the face of a natural disaster is that you see Texans coming together and helping fellow Texans. It's something, we're a big enough state that tragically we see quite a bit of natural disasters across the state. And every time that, whether it's flooding or hurricanes or tornadoes or fires, what we see is Texans helping their neighbors. We see a lot of people that are going and staying with family or friends in different parts of the state. And we're also seeing in the Houston and Galveston areas, calls have come out to people, private citizens with flat bottom boats. If you can assist in rescues, the local officials have called for that. And so we're seeing people doing exactly that. The Red Cross always does an amazing job. So for folks who are watching, who are not in Texas, who want to help out, I'd encourage you to go to the Red Cross website, sign up to volunteer, and assist and stand together. And then there's going to be, after the disaster is over, there's going to be the long process of rebuilding as a great many families have lost their homes or their cars or their possessions. But right now the priority is preserving life and getting people out of life-threatening situations.
Mm-hmm. Senator, what does it tell you about the true resiliency in the heart of Texas when you see everyday folks come out with their boats or with their trucks just to help somebody, somebody they may not even know, to get them out of harm's way?
Well, it's inspirational. It reminds us that you know, at a time when there are issues in politics and other things that divide us, that there's a lot more that unites us, and it is powerful to see Texans coming together and see people across the country pitching in to help. I mean, that's really, as Americans, we stand together in times of crisis, and we saw that in September 11. We saw that, we've seen that over and over again in the wake of natural disasters, and we're seeing it now. And so I will say, Texans, we appreciate the prayers from people all across the country, and we appreciate the incredible outpouring of help and assistance we're seeing right now.
Senator, I have to say, very well put. Thank you so much for being with us here this afternoon in very, very difficult times. Thank you for the information, and best of luck to you here in Texas, because we know we have got a very long way to go from this point forward. Recapping what the senator told us is that he has spoken with the governor, spoken with other municipalities, and the biggest thing that they need right now are boats and helicopters and performing rescues. That is the need right now. And when you see, you know, what's going on here, you see the reason why. Flat bottom boats in particular, something that's shallow, that doesn't have a deep hull to it, that you can get through, you know, maybe waist deep water or chest deep water and not necessarily scrape bottom or wreck the prop. I believe we're going to go to a different location in the Houston area where we have some more flooding that's taking over right now. Is that correct?
Hey, Mike. Yeah, we're gonna go to Smithville, and we're about 2 hours to the west of Houston, and we're still dealing with major flooding here. Now, I kind of want to paint the picture for you. The street behind me, this was flooded several hours ago, and really the water came up overnight and scared many of the folks. In fact, with the exception of a couple houses, most of the houses on this street have had water come into the first floor, especially the garages and their first floor. And the mayor here, you really talk about a town of about 4,000 people coming together. It is a very heartfelt community. Everyone's looking after one another, and people have been coming over, letting people stay with them if their house has been inundated, getting up in the wee hours of the morning when the bulk of the rain fell, and helped move the furniture off of the ground so it could stay dry, get their animals intact, and just make sure everyone was safe, that had a hot shower, could stay dry, and really just be in a dry location. Now, also to our north is the Colorado River. It is expected to get into major flood stage overnight and into tomorrow. Now, the flooding that you're seeing here, this has nothing to do with the river. This is just what happens when it rains too much in a very short amount of time. We've seen nearly 20 inches of rain here in Smithville, and keep in mind, we are far away from Houston. This is a far-reaching storm, and it has impacts far and wide. The good news here, at least, to provide some sort of hope, is the pumps. The city has put out pumps, and they have been working. As you can see, the street is now visible, and most of the water has now been out of people's houses. But a lot of people, it was a very close call, and something we can only be thankful for. I talked to one of the neighbors here, and she said the water was literally as high as it's ever gotten. And a low spot like this in town typically floods, but not to this extent. They said houses that usually see ponding in their yard, they've never seen it get as high as it has been. Keep in mind, though, this storm is still going to stick around. And we're closer to the center of Tropical Storm Harvey, and you can still see we're dealing with tropical storm force winds here. So the flooding is an ongoing threat. Again, the water has gone down behind me, but it is still raining. It is still coming down, and there have been some evacuations here in Bastrop County. Keep in mind the schools are closed here tomorrow here for Bastrop County. But again, we're going to send things back to Stephanie in Houston. And Steph, again, the flooding, just a tragic, tragic story there. What is the latest at your location?
Well, we're right here on Buffalo Bayou, and we're by the Hobby Center for Performing Arts. They have taken on a little bit of water. We were just in there, and they just said on the back side, on the other side, it's not inundated, but they have taken on water. You see the highway behind us, where we are where the on-ramps are for I-45. Now, Buffalo Bayou at Shepherd Drive, which is just off to our west, that's the closest gauge I could find. It is sitting at 27.94 feet. That's minor flood stage. Can you believe this is minor flood stage, by the way? It is going to go to major flood stage as we head tonight into tomorrow, and it's going to stay there all the way until August 30th. So this is going to be in flood stage all the way through our Wednesday. That's how high the water is going to be. Right now, it looks like it'll top out at 33 feet. The record for Allison was 40.2 feet, and the record here is 49 feet. But we're going to stay for several days, we're talking 3 to 4 days, in major flood stage before it's going to go back down. Now, thankfully, it's going to drop off pretty quickly, but it's going to take a little bit of time. You see that this is, again, that on-ramp, 13 feet, 11 inches. That is how high the water is. Imagine cars drive under that, trucks drive under that. They have that sign because they don't want trucks to rip off the top of their vehicles. So 10 feet is about the height of a first-story building. So if that was a home, it would be inundated. And the water is rising, I would say, on the slower side here. It's not like we're seeing significant flash flooding where it completely catches you off guard. We are seeing a slow rise in the water here, and that's what we are going to continue to see here. The airports are closed. They're not expecting them to open until Wednesday. AT&T is going to credit customers here that have gone over their data and texting and whatnot, so you can get credit from AT&T as well. But I don't want people to think just because we're getting a little bit of light rain that it's over. This is going to be lasting for days and days and days, and we are basically at Allison numbers when it comes to rainfall. And it's happened in 2 to 3 days where Allison was over a 5-day period. And we're not even finished yet. We literally could see rain through Thursday. So this is just going to get worse. We are not, in the end, we're saying, okay, let's start to think about how we can recover from this. Right now, we are just getting into the thick of it here. So we are going to continue to see that moisture pumped in. The precipitable water, how much you can squeeze out of the atmosphere, is on the high side. Our average for the entire year rainfall, 49.77 inches here in Houston, and we've already seen 2 feet. We've seen basically half that around the area, and we could get another 1 to 2 feet. So are we actually going to see a year's worth of rainfall in a week? It's possible. I can't rule it out. And we could see the most from a tropical entity in Texas ever. 1978 is the record from Amelia, 48 inches. We certainly could surpass that, I have no doubt. And if you look at flooding and the activities most people lose their lives in, it's from driving. 66% of fatalities in flooding occurs because of driving. We've already had 3 fatalities due to Harvey. So we don't want to lose any more people, and 2 of those were flood-related deaths. Millions upon millions of people have been affected by this. And then, Carl, it's not only the flooding, but though we just have a light breeze, it's the tornadoes that we have to continue to watch for here.
Yeah, exactly right. And there is a new tornado warning right now for Harris County, the west side of Harris County. This has been an ongoing threat. So you've got this massive rain that is coming up into the metro area, and now this tornado warning in the west side of Houston. Fort Bend, Harris, and Waller counties under warning right now. We were looking at a pretty tight circulation and has loosened it just a little bit, but there is definitely a circulation showing up there near Mission Bend, right in that area. Let's take that off to the northwest, see where that's going to be headed next, coming right up towards the Katy Freeway. So that'll be getting into Barker, as well as the Texas Children's Hospital, that area, Sundown Elementary, and Lorraine Golbo Elementary as well. If you're anywhere near any of those landmarks, you want to take cover immediately. And looking at the radar picture more broadly, you see there's still an awful lot of rain, especially in northern parts of Harris County. It's starting to fill in a little bit more here, Fort Bend and southwestern parts of Harris County. And this is the kind of thing that's going to go on for a very long time, as Stephanie mentioned. Total amounts of rainfall, there you see in that purple color, 15, 18, 20 plus inches since Friday. And so all of the rain gauges around, or the stream flow gauges, I should say, around the Harris County area, all in major stage pretty much. There are some exceptions, but they're almost all in major stage right now. So this is the extent of the flooding that we're talking about across the Houston metro. Along the North Loop there, Beltway 8, 290, Katy Freeway, Southwest Freeway, 288 down the Gulf Freeway, and all of those spots, you've got exceptional flooding that is ongoing here, indicated by those gauges there. Now, looking at where we go from here, and here are live pictures of people that are being rescued right now. This is, I believe, down in Dickinson. And so this is the type of thing that we have been seeing over and over and over again, whether it's by trucks or other types of heavy machinery, certainly a lot of boats, people doing anything they can to get other people out of harm's way. Massive effort underway with rescue personnel, but also with civilians, people who just have the equipment or the know-how or the drive to be able to help other people out. So we've got a lot more rain on the way. That's what's most worrisome about this. And when we look at the satellite picture, you can see this spin in the atmosphere right now across parts of Texas that really is winding down very, very slowly. But in addition to that, a lot of the things that drove this in the first place are still there. Warm and humid air coming in from the Gulf, upper level support, and that's what's going to keep this system stronger right through the middle to end of this week. And here you see the radar picture going through tonight and early tomorrow. We still see these big bands of heavy rain coming right up into Houston. This particular model showing us a widespread area of 5+ inches of rain there in Houston just in the next 18 hours. And that's to say nothing of what happens beyond that point. And so as we go back out to Mike Bettis in Dickinson, Mike, we're talking about a situation where at a minimum, that is going to slow the recession. And if the rainfall rates are high enough, then it may actually get worse in some parts of the Houston metro area.
And you kind of scratch your head and you wonder how it gets any worse than it already is, Carl. You know, in Dickinson, it's just alarming to see what's happening right now. And I look down Highway 3 here, and it's just a steady stream of pickup trucks and boats, and one after another, going to find people to rescue, people that need the call. We actually had 4 police officers on a front end loader. They're literally sitting in the shovel and going down trying to find boats. They're just going to commandeer boats and try to help people and rescue people with the boats. The situation is unfolding. It's only just begun. It's likely to get worse than this. These pictures are stunning. But imagine what happens now with more rain in the forecast. A breaking news situation right now with Houston, Texas and surrounding areas going underwater. We're back after this. You are watching the Weather Channel's live coverage of the flooding happening in the Houston-Galveston metro area. We are in Dickinson, Texas. I'm meteorologist Mike Bettis, and it is water, water everywhere you look. People being rescued every single minute because of the high water that's come up as the Dickinson Bayou has come out of its banks. And a lot of rainwater is causing the flooding as well. We're getting flash flooding and river flooding combining to create an epic disaster here on the south side of Houston. We've actually had some fine gentlemen here that performed some rescues themselves, joined by Steve, and Dave Fallon is here. Dave, what's it like out there? You've been through numerous neighborhoods.
It's just unbelievable. It's there's so many people that need help, and when you get to 45, you're dealing with currents coming up underneath there. There's people under the bridge. There's people on the other side. They're stranded. They have their dogs, they have their families, they have their kids, and we're getting requests for help everywhere we go, and we have to turn some people down because we have our boat full. They need more resources out here to help these people, and when this is all done, they're going to need food, they're going to need a place to stay. This is, I've never seen anything like what I've seen today.
How long have you been out here, Dave? How many people have you rescued?
We've rescued about 3 families.
About 3 families so far, yeah.
And then we actually came out here to save a colleague, and you know, we had to turn back a couple of times because we picked up a family of kids and a grandmother or something.
What's the need? If you get the word out right now to whoever may be watching, what's the need right now?
I would say that people need to start making sandwiches. Boaters need to start bringing fuel, auxiliary tanks. Bring your boats out here. I don't know if they're fire department or lifeguard or whatever, but they're passing by a bunch of people because they have people to save. So just help and pray for everybody here today.
Where are you headed next?
We're here to just save a pregnant lady and a couple of kids and some dogs.
We appreciate you stopping by. Know you wanted to tell the folks at home what's going on here. We'll let you go do your thing. He's got someone he's got to rescue. Dave, thank you so much. You guys are doing a great job. Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys are doing a heck of a job. This is the need. It's truly just neighbors helping neighbors at this point. If you have a boat that you can contribute, it doesn't matter what it is. If you've got a canoe, so be it. You can put somebody in that canoe and you can save them. But the need is desperate here in Dickinson as many communities go underway. It's not just Dickinson, it's many communities. Let's head to meteorologist Chris Bruin. He's in Smithville right now. And Chris, it's odd to see how this situation, how this flood unfolds everywhere you look around the Houston metro area.
Yeah, Mike, it is heartbreaking. I mean, you mentioned neighbor helping neighbor. That's exactly what we have seen here as well. We're in Smithville, about 2 hours from Houston, and as you can see, the winds are still howling. We're getting tropical storm force winds here throughout town, still causing some power outages. Schools are out here in Bastrop County for tomorrow. But again, keep in mind, flooding's been a big issue. The street behind me, it's gotten better. They're releasing water through this pump system. But earlier today, boy, was it quite a different story. That water that you see in the streets, that was in people's homes. Almost all the homes on this street were flooded, and some still dealing with water inside of them. This house, thankfully, was just spared. But houses that don't usually flood, we're seeing water from Harvey just because of how much rain we have seen in such a short amount of time. But again, keep it right here to the latest of the Weather Channel. We've got more on the uncovering story here in Houston when we return.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the flooding disaster in Houston and Southeast Texas. We're going to have more on that in just a moment, but we have to tell you about a new system that we're watching along the southeast Atlantic coast. It's now a potential tropical cyclone. This is a new designation from the National Hurricane Center in anticipation of this storm becoming a tropical storm as it moves up and along the coast of the Carolinas. Here's the forecast track and intensities from the National Hurricane Center, looking for a low-grade tropical storm to be along the coast there in North and South Carolina through Tuesday. Then the storm working offshore at that point, starting to transition to a non-tropical system and then rapidly pulling away beyond that point. We do definitely see a circulation that has developed, a sort of a broad area of low pressure. Thunderstorms firing along with that. It's being sheared right now. And as we look at the advisories that are up, these are tropical storm watches from Myrtle Beach up across coastal North Carolina into the Sounds and into the Outer Banks as well, where there could be tropical storm force winds in 48 hours. And there you see the wind forecast Tuesday morning. It's not going to be just the tropical system, which is right here, but rather the combination of that and high pressure to the north that's going to bring in a very strong gradient wind into the coast. And along with that gradient wind, we'll be talking about elevated waves, beach erosion, along with some coastal flooding perhaps, and a rip current threat as well that's going to lift up and along the coast. So that's the next thing that we're watching, but of course we're still watching Houston very carefully. Widespread flash flood warnings right now. There's also a tornado warning that is ongoing in western Harris County as well as into parts of Fort Bend County. Seeing a little couplet here that is showing up now just north of the Katy Freeway. And so this is just also west of 6, right through there, taking that forward. That's going to move out and along 290. And so that's going to move up towards Walker Elementary School and the Sacro Grande Acroport as well. And looking more broadly at the Houston area, a lot more rain coming down. Just about every gauge along the bayous and creeks in Harris County now in major flooding. So you've got this ongoing flood concern and a lot more rain on the way. The position of the system does not change that much at all between tonight and early tomorrow. So much more in the way of heavy rain on the way. And Mike, we're talking about as much as 5 to 8 inches across a huge part of the Houston metro just in the next 18 hours, and then a lot more after that. And it's just hard to, as we've been saying all afternoon, it's hard to fathom getting more water than you've seen already, the worst that you've ever seen, yes?
It's just unimaginable. It really is. And I just don't know what we're going to do. We're going to get more water than we already have. I want to tell you what our situation is right now. We've hooked up with 2 gentlemen here, Lamar and Jason. They have their boat out. We're literally driving down Highway 517. And they're taking us over we're headed toward 45. Timber Drive and Dietz. Timber Drive and Dietz. And from what Lamar tells us, their water's up to roofs. People on their roofs, 3 to 4 feet right here. And so they've been doing rescues throughout the morning and the afternoon, but this is the only way now you can get down through this stretch of road, because you can't get through here with the trucks anymore. You can see how high the water is here now. Even the there's a big wrecker right there. It's underwater. So boat is the only way you can get now through this area. They've done numerous rescues with their personal boat here throughout the day, and now we're seeing more and more people arrive with their boats, with the flat bottom boats, to get to some people here. It is just a tragic scene, and we're putting out the all call at this point for everyone that may have a boat, a flat bottom boat, something where you can not have a deep hull, so if you put some people on it, it doesn't bottom out. But we need boats, even if it's truly just a canoe. You can put 2 or 3 people on that. You're saving 2 or 3 people. Okay, Dickinson is truly in a state of emergency right now, as most of the town has gone underwater. We've got continuing coverage for you right here on the Weather Channel as we watch this developing and breaking situation in Southeast Texas.
you, the Weather Channel meteorologist Stephanie Abrams, in downtown Houston, where a Buffalo Bayou is out of its banks. And it's going to stay out of its banks, by the way, until Wednesday. I was just looking at the flood maps. We are going to be, actually, it's going to go higher than it currently is right now. We are at 27.87 feet. We're minor to moderate flood stage right around that. We are going to jump up as we head through the day tomorrow to major flood stage at 33 feet, and it's going to stay there all the way through our Wednesday time frame. It's going to take a while for this water to recede. That's the other story. This is not going up and coming down in one day. This is going to be a long-lasting event. Let's find out the latest.